Hello and welcome to another episode of Turtleneck Tabletalk, the podcast that seeks insightful conversations while promoting the growth of our community.
That's right.
I'm Devin, and this is Austin, and we are your hosts. And today we are excited for our new episode.
So excited. I have the pleasure of introducing an awesome person. I wrote down a little bit. So let's run through a little list of
little
accolades.
Oh, Lord.
Ooh, yes, it's a long list.
It is a long list, but I shortened it down. I'm doing it. It's too late.
Super basic.
Because we got our man born in Germany, residing in Wichita, got his education, now he's touring the nation. This man is living the dream, singing and engineering. He's bringing a joyous spirit to work every day, engaging the youth with STEM in a brand new way.
Come on.
With all that, I'm ecstatic to say, please welcome Roy Moye to the show today.
Oh, that was good.
Dude,
That
thank you for coming on, Roy.
I appreciate you.
Yeah.
That was really
That's
good.
what we got,
Nice.
man.
Yeah.
Dude, we're so excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be here.
Top
Your
of the
energy is just, it's the level is so high, and I appreciate that.
It has to be.
yeah.
It has to be. Top of the list guest for season 2 for myself. So I'm honored to have you in a seat next to me, and I'm super excited to learn about your journey, your career, and what else is inspiring you these days. So
Absolutely. I'm
Yeah.
happy to sit with y'all too, and I love this
sure.
blue.
Yeah,
this
we got
this
a little-
blue theme that we have.
Absolutely we do. Yeah, Devin always matches what I do. He's a little bit more versatile in the style category. So I put something on, he goes and matches it. So shout out to Devin for that. But
Cool.
yeah, if you want to give yourself a little introduction to the audience as well, we'll start off with that and get into it, man.
Yeah, so I'm Roy Moye III, as you stated.
That's right.
Aerospace engineer, but also singer, songwriter, entrepreneur. Started my career at Wichita State University. Go Shockers.
Shockers.
Woo, 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 woo.
Ooh, shock.
Majored in aerospace engineering, but also while I was there, I was singing all over campus, national anthems, talent shows, you name it. And then interned twice at a company called Spirit Aerosystems, Tier 1 aerostructures company based in Wichita, Kansas. And then through that time, just continued to pursue music from R&B to gospel. And then in 2019, started STEMUSIC, LLC, my small business, teaching kids about STEM through songs and interactive activities, and doing shows all over the country now, which has been really, really fun. So it's always been this balance of doing engineering work, but then also singing, creating music, putting it out for the world to hear. And then professionally, my corporate career, I did pivot from engineering to talent acquisition to hire engineers and recruit engineers, but then also I get to lead the college internship program at Spirit. And so that's been a fun endeavor as well. So a lot of different things all in one.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to go kind of full circle with Spirit there, from an intern to hiring interns, which I think is really cool. We'll definitely touch on that. But
Sure.
I think well, let's start with the career.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we'll go into STEM music,
Yeah.
because I think that's what everyone finds really interesting about you, is able to balance work life with your own business.
Is it a balance? I don't know. I'm not sure if it's really being
Is it
balanced.
just
I
a
think it's
tip
just-
scale
Yeah.
of work and work? So
Yeah, no,
maybe.
I think from the career standpoint, all throughout college, after freshman year, I wanted to drop out so I
Really?
could pursue R&B music
Nice.
full
Yeah.
time. So like this journey with music and engineering has always been intertwined, but I'm someone who follows the rules. Also an engineer, and a big thing in engineering is being risk averse.
Yeah.
And not wanting to do so. I was kind of like, well, what are my parents going to think? Well, I don't have any money. Like, what is going on?
Right.
So I ended up, staying in school, which I'm grateful that I did, but, continued to perform and grow that skill set of singing, and even songwriting really started to grow in that. And so I interned at Spirit in the summer of 2013, 2014. And so, like you said, it's been a full circle moment to now be recruiting and hiring interns and running the total intern program is just pretty impressive. And something I'm grateful for, because it is a full circle moment. But when I was an intern, I was a structural design engineering intern. So I was working on designing different parts for structural parts for airplane programs. And that, honestly, that was my dream as a child. Like, I've been obsessed with airplanes since I can remember. I was born in Germany, as you said in my intro, and I flew to the States 3 weeks after I was born. So I was not in Germany long, and I was on a plane 3 weeks after taking my first breath. So I think for me, I've always told people that's why I love airplanes so much. And from loving airplanes, I wanted to figure out how to design them. And I just kept asking my parents, like, how do you do that? What is it that you do? And my dad, who's in the Army Reserves now, but was, active duty back when, I was born, he worked in a lab testing fuel for military vehicles and aircraft, which is kind of interesting that's very much STEM. And I really didn't put two and two together, like, wow. But I think because he was close to that industry, was able to find, aeronautical engineering is something, that's what you would want to do. And the moment I got that, I was like hooked. Okay, I'm going to study everything. I'm going to go on Ask Jeeves. If you're in college now, you don't know what that is. But it's a website like Google, Jeeves, Google, YouTube, what didn't exist at the time. So Wikipedia, just trying to find any information I could on airplanes and how to go about designing them, what career. And so landed on aeronautical aerospace engineering and ended up coming to Wichita State to study aerospace engineering. And so throughout that career, I got to senior year, I interned at Spirit. So I'm getting to take my first steps in the aerospace industry and designing different parts for some different airplane programs. And that was kind of very much like, wow, this is what I've always wanted to do. But also, wow, I don't know if this is something I want to do for the rest of my life. And I'm starting to fall in love with music, singing in a way that I didn't really know when I was in high school. I auditioned for American Idol when I was 15 years old. So that was sophomore year of high school. I did not get through any round. And so I was like, they lying to me. They all lying. Like, if you ever watched American Idol back in the day when they did a lot of silly stuff on the show, there'd always be people on the show like, no, my mom told me I can sing. My dad told me,
Yes.
So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be one of those people because I didn't even make it through. It's not like how you watch it on TV. You have to go through several rounds before you even make it to the judges and get to be on TV. And so I remember after that, I was like, I'm just going to sing in choir and that's it. But when I came to Wichita State, I sang a national anthem for the basketball team my freshman year, and the Coke Arena just exploded. Like, people clap after national anthems, but it was wild. And I was looking around like, maybe you actually do have a voice, a gift, like something. And so that kind of started the journey of that's why I wanted to drop out after freshman year. Cause I'm like, I really have something, like they weren't lying.
People love me.
Right. So I just really started to pursue that more in college. And so when I got to graduation, it's like, oh, do I go to work or do I just take a chance while I'm this young to go pursue it full time? And so I ended up going to work, but at the same time I was creating my first R&B EP. And I ended up putting that out the summer of 2015, which was my first summer at Spirit Aerosystems full time.
Nice.
And that changed everything. It really did, because it made me feel like this is what I want to do. Like, I now know for sure that this is the thing that I was meant to do and what I want to do. Singing full time. But you're in this aerospace career and it's like, oh my gosh. So that's kind of
doesn't
like,
pay too bad.
You might got a little student loans that you need to pay off. So, it's good to use that degree. And so that launched me on a trajectory of working as an engineer, but also pursuing music at the same time.
Definitely. Yeah. Now, that wasn't when you started STEMUSIC though.
No.
You took a few years to eventually develop that. How long was it until you decided you needed to combine engineering and music? And how did you really decide that?
Yeah, because that's such a unique, to bring the two together. It's so inventive too.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I'm not doing anything new. I appreciate that. I'm not doing anything new. If you remember Schoolhouse Rock, if you remember Reading Rainbow, I mean, there was these programs growing up that I at least had access to that would do that. I mean, I remember being in a musical about Schoolhouse Rock, and in middle school, I want to say, and I had Conjunction Junction. What's your function? That was my little solo in that song, right? Come on, you remember that, right? And so, STEMUSIC actually, the beginning of it started in college. So I always tell this story when I do keynotes about STEMUSIC and how to get teachers and professionals excited about teaching their students STEM and how to make it exciting with music. In my materials of engineering class, which was maybe sophomore year, we had a lot of terms. So it was less about equations, and it was more about terms. You got to learn about crack growth, crack propagation, the different materials that are being used in aircraft design and development. And we got on that section of crack propagation and all of these different things. And I remember telling my friend, I said, there's just so much vocabulary. Like, I don't know how I'm going to remember all of this. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm about to put it in a song and I'm going to memorize it.
Okay.
And he's like, are you really going to do that? I was like, yeah. So I went home and I took the TLC song Creep.
Okay.
And it went a little something like this. It's just a little snippet.
Let's hear it.
So I creep, yeah, crack growth along the grain boundary, deforming material permanently. Oh, I. And it was on and on and on. But that's a little snippet of the song. And thank you. And I got an A on that test. And I just remember telling him, like, it worked. And so that was kind of like the beginning. And then in other classes, I think experimental methods where we were using the wind tunnel, which that's always an exciting part for engineering students in aerospace because, you know, Wichita State has some incredible wind tunnels, you know, the beach wind tunnel, the supersonic wind tunnel. And so in that class, I think it was Lady Gaga that I live for the applause. And I was like, we live for the data. And I was like, you know, it was this whole thing and so it's been this thing in my life where I was doing it in college, but what really happened to get me to move forward to get on a trajectory that would lead to the creation of STEMUSIC was working with Real Men, Real Heroes. So it's a nonprofit in town. I believe the name now is Heroes Academy. So I was part of that organization for 10 years. And I always brought science, technology, engineering, and math to the organization. So we would do, the egg drop, where you have to build, you know, this case around an egg and then drop it and see if the egg survives. Or we're going to do gumdrop bridges, you know, with toothpicks and dots. And so any STEM activity, they would always look to me to do it because, you know, I'm this engineering student and then engineering professional, and I always had fun with it. Well, one time they said, could you do a workshop or an activity on math? And I said, child, who are you talking to? What's math? And by the way, I have a math minor because you do have to take so much math in your engineering career.
Well, it's just a couple extra classes.
Right? For me, it was just one more. It was just linear algebra,
which,
by the way, never got an A in a math class until linear algebra, which was my last math class. So go figure, right?
Interesting.
So I always say math and I, we're acquaintances. We're not friends. We're acquaintances. So when they ask me, I'm like, oh, Lord. And so at the time, I had the 3rd and 4th graders. So I was a lead teacher. We met every Monday evening during the school year. And so it was predominantly young Black boys from 3rd grade to high school. But the largest population of the boys was 3rd to like 6th grade. That was our greatest number. So I was the 3rd and 4th lead teacher. And then when they rose to 5th and 6th, I went with them. So they were like, okay, we want you to do this activity. And so I'm like, I just remember going home thinking, there's no way I'm going to do this. I know my kids. They're going to be like, nah, we're not doing that. Mr. Roy, we're not doing that. So I'm like, how do I make this interesting and fun? And we're solving for X. That was the math lesson. And so, which is kind of a little bit advanced for the level that they were at, but I wanted to do something that kind of you could see made sense. And we had some 6th graders in there. So I said, it'd be kind of cool to see that, like if I plug this number in this equation, now it makes sense. You know, 4 plus, X is 8. What is that, right? Like there's a way to kind of show the beginnings of algebra to them at a younger age. And so I said, but you got to do something fun. So I remixed Watch Me Whip, Watch Me Menu. So watch me solve the equation. Hey, watch me solve. And then there was a whole math problem in there, solving for X in the lyrics. And so I came to the, that session that night. I said, okay, we're going to do a lesson on math. And they were like, everybody.
And then you just turn on the music.
And I was like, but I want to do something first. So I flipped that music on and I performed the song. And they were just going crazy. And I'm like, I just remember looking at the room like, okay. Then they were running up to the board to solve the problems. And it didn't matter if they were getting it right or wrong. They just, give me the marker. And I remember thinking, what just happened in this room? And even afterwards, I think we shot like a unofficial music video. Like they were dancing outside the school because we met at Chester Lewis right off of 17th. And so, it was just, that was pretty special. And I went home that night and was like, something happened. There's something there. I don't know what it is. And so I kind of started, having this idea. 2017, I went to the National Society of Black Engineers National Conference in Kansas City that year. I was heavily involved in that organization in college at Wichita State. So I knew a lot of people there and stuff. And they had this entrepreneurship interest group. And so you could go learn how to start a business so they're like, anybody have any business ideas in the room, or you can share your business? And I said, I'm thinking of this thing called, because there's a company called STEM Media. A good friend of mine now, and love what he's doing with it, Dr. Nehemiah. But I said, I'm thinking of like STEM music.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that like, and I kind of described it to them, like think of Schoolhouse Rock thing, but I want to do it in my way. And I don't want the songs to sound like kids songs. I want it to be like regular sounding music, but the content and the lyrics are just about STEM. And the whole room was just like, yeah, you should. And they knew me as a singer in Nesby. They knew, you know, they're like, yeah, you should definitely do that. And so I left all like confident, like, okay, like let me start writing a business plan out. But then I got stifled. And this is something I think is important for your listeners. Because it doesn't matter if you're trying to be an entrepreneur, trying to get a new job, trying to go after a hobby or play a sport or whatever. I had debilitating insecurity about it. You know, I kept thinking to myself, what if I do a show and somebody's like, what is the derivative of dx over dt to the second power, like during a show? And I don't have the answer.
That is
like,
crippling insecurity.
right? Didn't that just trigger you? Like, oh my gosh. Like,
it did trigger me. I just got through differential equations.
See, what is the integration by parts of it? Like,
Oh, stop.
see, all the engineering students and engineers out there know, like, and so I just had this irrational, like, even if somebody did ask me, it's okay to say, I don't know. You know, I can't solve that for you right now because that was X amount of years ago, or I don't remember it. But just irrational stuff like that really, really caused me to be like, I can't do this. So it should have been started in 2017. And shout out to my best friend. She kept hearing me talk about, oh, but I really like this idea. I think I should do something. She's like, you know what, Roy? You don't have to do it if you don't want to. It's okay. Like, don't put that pressure on yourself. You don't have to do it. And I remember after that conversation, I was like, okay.
Reverse psychology.
Yeah,
Yes.
And I don't even think she was trying to do reverse psychology. I think she was just being a good friend of like, you keep bringing this up, but then you keep saying like, I can't do it.
Right.
And I was just like, this was February of 2019. I was like, Roy, just write the first song. Just write one song. See how you feel about it and see how it goes. And I remember recording it in my apartment and playing it back in the kitchen. And I was just dancing in the kitchen like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what I thought it would sound like. This is exactly what I had in my mind. And I was so excited. So then back to Nesby, another national convention. This time it was in Detroit. And I said, should I perform? I said, because we have a junior delegation in National Society of Black Engineers. So these are like PCI, Pre-Collegiate Initiative is what it's called. But these students are anywhere from elementary school to high school students. And so they had a karaoke night, one of the nights of the conference. And I knew everybody in Nesby. So I reached out to my friend. I was like, hey, you're over the karaoke night. She was like, yeah. I said, can I do a song for the, I'm just trying something. She said, yeah, you know, we love you. Come through. So I go and I perform this song for the students. And they're definitely vibing. The parents, on the other hand, are going crazy because the lyrics are very much about what they do in their lives in STEM. And they're like, oh my gosh. The kids are kind of just bopping and vibing out to it. And then the DJ, when I was done, I was like, okay, I got to go do the gospel concert now. You know, it's the same night. And so the DJ's like, here's your jump drive. He's like, by the way, can I like use that in the club? I was like, now why are you playing? You're not about to play this song in the club. But that really showed me like, this is really something special. With that reaction, it's something special. And so fast forward, I ended up saying, you know, what pushed me over the edge was one, that experience. But then two, I'm Black, Puerto Rican, and Mexican. And in my classes, looking around, I really didn't see people who looked like me. If they were Black students at Wichita State, many of them were African students, which is awesome. Nigerian, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, you know, from those countries. But for African-American Black students, it just was like in my graduating class of aerospace engineering students, there was one Black aerospace engineering graduate. And you're probably like, oh, it was you, Roy. No, it was me and my friend, because I'm half Black and half Latino. He's half Black and half Asian. And us together was the one.
Total, sum of parts.
And so it was, that was some math right there, right? So it was kind of like, wow, you know, I've been doing this work in the National Society of Black Engineers to bring more Black engineers into, you know, STEM and stuff, but I want to do more. And STEM, working as a professional engineer, financially, it definitely helped change my life too. Like you get out of college making anywhere from $70K up with a bachelor's as an engineering, you know, professional. And so that really pushed me over the edge of like, how does this impact community? How does this impact the Black and brown community with, you know, having more, you know, Black and brown students go into STEM, not only to create the cool things, the new technology, to have their perspectives and our perspectives inside this industry, but also what does it do to them personally? And that really kind of made me say, you just got to do it scared. And so fast forward, started the STEMUSIC Company, LLC, in November of 2019. Our birthday is November 1st. And yeah, I mean, the rest is history. And what's crazy to me to anybody out there listening, if you know you have this thing in your gut and you want to pursue it and you want to do it, just take a chance on it and go for it. Because the first song I ever wrote for STEMUSIC, which is our theme song, we call it STEMUSIC, the song I performed
Banger.
at the conference.
Banger.
Thank you. It has a music video that we did with the Society of Women Engineers local chapter here in Wichita, their professional chapter. We did a music video in the pandemic, and that music video has 46 million views.
Oh my gosh.
And I just think about, wow, that's the very first song I ever wrote for STEMUSIC that I was like, I don't know if I can do that. And it produced that. So just, you never know what's gonna happen, especially if you have that thing in your gut. I'm not talking about just a random idea of, oh, I might do this, but you know, like you are gifted to style a room a certain way, or you're gifted to cook a meal a certain way, or you're gifted to, you have that gut feeling and that idea, like, just take a chance. You never know what could happen.
Dude, yeah, and now we're here.
And now we're
Yes,
here.
And now we're here. Now you've done it. Man, that's so awesome to hear. I think everyone from who's listening to that got a whole lot of knowledge out of that.
Oh, for sure.
Definitely. And I can't wait to keep seeing what STEM music does. And we just got to talk a little bit about the vision of STEM music. And can you just elaborate?
Because you do a lot more than just with the music and everything. Like you have a podcast and you have like multiple avenues.
There's a
through
lot
it.
going on.
Scholarship recently introduced. You're doing it right. Bringing back to the community.
You know, hey, that's what this is all about.
Yeah.
And we've done that from the very beginning. I have a small team, so shout out to Julia and Taylor.
Shout out.
Julia's in Kansas City, Taylor's here in Wichita, but they are team members of mine who, you know, help with what it is that I'm doing with STEM music. But yeah, from the very beginning, we were very passionate, and I was passionate about giving back. You know, my quick little story about Wichita State. And coming here, yes, I had this dream and all this stuff to become an aerospace engineer, but I came here and after freshman year, I owed, I think, $4,000 to this school. And I was like, I don't have $4,000. You know, my parents don't have $4,000. They can just give me, like, I didn't come from that. And so the long story short is through God, through Alicia Newell, who I love so much, who still works at Wichita State, Shilu Surrender, Natalie Tony, these women, I call them Roy's Angels. They all together, especially Alicia Newell, helped me get scholarships after my sophomore year that ended up allowing me to stay at Wichita State University, because I just thought I was going to go home, dream deferred, it's not going to happen. And so it was through scholarships that really allowed me to be able to stay at Wichita State and successfully graduate with my aerospace engineering degree. So I'm very passionate about that. So at the very beginning of STEMUSIC, I said, you know, we're not even making that much money starting out. You know, I'm just starting this business, but I want to give out scholarships. And like, how can we do that? They're not going to be large scholarships, but books. Every student has to pay for books. You know, some students like them digitally, but a lot of students still buy books. And so books are expensive. Like, so we do a $250 STEMUSIC book scholarship every single year. We've given out, I want to say 7 up to this point. So, you know, multiple each year that we'll give out. Our current scholarship deadline is May 3rd. So I don't know when this is being distributed, you know, but
might not make the cut.
But anyway, so we give those out to students who are multicultural students who are pursuing a STEM degree in college. And recently we've kind of zeroed in on who we are trying to target. So that's students who are going to a college in the state of Kansas, because we are a Kansas-based company. And students going to a historically Black college or university. And so definitely something that I started from the very beginning, just because I know the difference a scholarship made for me. And so at some point in the future, you talked about vision, I would love to be paying for entire college educations for students. So that's where I see the scholarship side of it going. For STEMUSIC as a whole, we do have a podcast that's a little dormant right now. And so we're excited to try to relaunch that in 2025. So we have about 30 episodes that are out there. So that podcast is all about highlighting multicultural STEM professionals and the music they love. So we talk about their story, how they got into STEM, how they're, you know, what they're doing in their career right now. But then at the end, we always talk about anywhere from 3 to 5 songs that they love, why they love them. I will listen to them first and then kind of give my take on, oh, I loved it, this, you know, and it's really cool because there's songs that I don't know that I get introduced to.
Yeah.
And then they're talking about their favorite songs that they love. So we do that. And so we're looking to launch that. When we were doing it, it was more in the pandemic timeframe. So it was kind of via Zoom and just audio. And so we really want to do video formats, and which like what we're doing here. So we kind of did a little test with our scholarship winners from last year. And we have an episode that features them. So we call it STEMUSIC, the podcast, the next generation. So our regular podcast is the STEMUSIC podcast, and then Next Generation is our scholarship recipients. So
Very cool.
And then music-wise, I'm working on a new album right now.
Yes, sir.
It's going a little bit slower than what I want it to go.
That's all right.
I sound like a genuine music artist.
Musician.
We're always talking about we need more time. Rihanna, where that album at, Rihanna? We need that.
Name dropping. Okay.
Right. You know, we're always, and by the way, my best friend her name is Rihanna, and people are always like,
That's
know
hilarious.
Rihanna? I'm like, I don't know the singer Rihanna, but we are talking to you, singer Rihanna. Put that album out. No, but in the same format as them, like, it's, you know, especially with a full-time job, it does take a lot of time, but the vision is to write a love letter. So to create a love letter to aerospace and aviation. That's how I got into STEM. If there's no airplanes, I'm not in STEM, because I wasn't the kid who was taking stuff apart and putting it back together. And, you know, I did play with Legos. I did have my little building blocks, and I've always had the creative side of and the intrigue of wanting to design. But I love airplanes. That's what got me into STEM. So I am working on an album that is a love letter to aerospace, to aviation. And I'm really looking forward to putting those songs together, building a show around it, and then hopefully taking it to some air shows. At air shows, you have, locations where they're doing STEM activities often. And so I would love to have this album, go to air shows. The dream is to get my pilot's license and then fly into those air shows. And all right, Pilot Roy is coming in with STEM music. And boom, you get to perform. So that's kind of long-term vision. You do have to dream big, whether it happens or not. You have to dream big, and don't put limitations on what it is that you want to do. So, and then I'm excited to just do more shows. We have a summer STEMUSIC in Kansas tour coming up at some libraries in Salina, Lawrence, Wichita, of course. Shout out to the Wichita Public Library. They're Savannah out there, so supportive of STEM music. And then Johnson County Public Library as well. So 4 cities, getting to kind of take it on the road a little bit more. And then we're doing some national stuff. Houston Public Library coming up in the fall of this year. We've already done some, things in other cities, San Diego at their Science and Engineering Festival. And so I've done some shows in Maine, Louisiana, Arkansas, Phoenix, Children's Museum of Phoenix. They've been great supporters as well. Oklahoma City run last fall, 4 shows out there. So just continuing to build out the tour schedule throughout the year and across the nation. We even had some students perform the science song in Georgia, but not Georgia the state, but Georgia the country in Europe, which was really, really exciting. I zoomed in at 5 a.m. in the morning and got to connect with them, and I performed the science song for them. And I can't remember the kid's name, but the kid who did the solo, which is my part, and it's the rap is like molecules on molecules, molecules, chemical compound sciences. Cool, put me in the lab. Let me see what I can do. The kid had it down to a T, and was singing he was even hitting the little falsetto notes. I was like, okay, Georgia, it was and it was for their science fair. So
that's gonna be an awesome feeling.
It was so exciting to see, and they sent me the video and just seeing the kids performing it and dancing to it. And I think they even recorded some background vocals for the harmonies. They were using my track, but I think they added some stuff onto it. And so just to know this, once again, if you're scared of starting something or doing something, and how the insecurity that I had, and this music is being played in Georgia.
Yeah, seeing it grow into...
It's what? This is crazy. So
kids across the world.
Yeah, so I think the vision for it is just to continue to grow it. I am taking a leap of faith, and I will be pursuing STEMUSIC full time in the fall of 2024.
Wow.
So that is definitely something that I'm very excited about.
Yeah.
Exclusive.
Oh, shoot. Oh, man.
My team at Spirit does
the
know. Yeah, they know about it. And everyone at Spirit has been so supportive in all of my musical endeavors, my R&B career, my gospel career, all of that. So they have been it's only been a matter of time, Roy. We know. But yeah, I'm definitely a person of faith, love God, love Jesus. And last year, for those who may be, in this faith space or have that sort of connection to God, for those out there like that, this could be an encouraging story, a short story of how that came to be. So I've been wanting to leave and jump and do music full time since 2015 when I started. When I started putting out music, just because, like I said earlier, that night that I had this EP release concert and put out this R&B music, it was actually my birthday, July 15th of 2015. I went to bed and cried myself to sleep because I was like, this is what I want to do. I don't want to go to work. I just want to do music. Like, it's like when you know, oh my gosh, that's a hard feeling when you know what it is that you're supposed to be doing, but you're like, but I want to be wise. Once again, being risk averse. And I'm so glad I did it this way. I really am. But I've been wanting to jump ever since then. And so last year, I was like, okay, God, what we doing? And I talked to God like I'm talking to y'all. Like, it is not our Father who art in heaven. How, there's still reverence, but it's very much a conversation. And I was like, when can I jump? So I was trying to jump in December of 2022.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave for Christmas break and I'm just not going to come back. I'm so glad I didn't do that. That probably stressed a lot of people out. But I just was like, man, I started seeing STEMUSIC grow and I'm like, I just want to do this. And I just remember praying, doing a 3-day fast and God saying, just give me your jump. Just give it to me. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it. I trust you. But after this intern program in summer of 2023, we need to come back to the negotiation table and talk about this. Like, that's how I talk to God. So I'm like, okay. Yeah. We get to after the 2023 program last year, and I'm like, okay, God, what is it? What time can I jump in it? And I remember I had to read for Storytime Village. Shout out to Priska Barnes, who's over that, the executive director, and she's definitely been influential in helping me launch STEMUSIC back in 2019. She's a big part of that and huge mentor of mine. But she was like, yeah, we want you to come read at the park, Napster Park downtown. I live downtown in Wichita, and so it's like 2 minutes from me. And so I'm like, oh, I'm just going to work from home this morning and then go into work after I read, because it doesn't make sense to go to work and then come back. And my manager was cool with that. So I'm like, oh, I get some extra time to pray this morning. I'm not like rushing out the door. I'm like, God, what are we doing? Like, I kept my word. I did the 2023 intern program. So when can I jump? I need a sign. For me, my relationship with God has always been about confirmation. So it's always been like, okay, do this, but he'll confirm it. And so I'm like, is it now? Is it next year? When is it? Give me a sign. I get in the car. In Jesus' name, amen. I get in the car and I drive 2 minutes to the park. I show up the park. I'm like, Priska, you never told me what book I'm reading. Like, just at least let me get a preview so I can know before I'm reading to these kids. Yeah. And she gives me the book, and in big letters, the book is titled Jabari Jumps. And I just froze and was like, are you serious, God? And she was like, you don't want to read it? Is it bad or something? Like, no, I just had this whole like spiritual experience like in my prayer time, and now I'm here 2 minutes later and this book is staring me in the face. Jump, Jabari Jumps. And so it was from that moment that I was like, okay, God, I hear you. Now, when are we doing this? And it was just like, get through another internship program so we can do it the right way, so that, your team knows. And so I've been a little bit more public about it, or at least, sharing it with friends and colleagues and coworkers and that sort of thing. Now, but I let her know, my manager know that day. Wow. That was August of 2022.
Oh man.
So, I really love that I get to lead the college internship program. It is something that, like you said, a full circle moment. Yeah. I'm very passionate about the next generation. I'm very passionate about opening doors for students and their careers, and just trying to, whether they stay at Spirit or not. Of course, we're running the program because we want them to stay. We want to retain them. But I always tell my interns, like, I just want what's best for you, and I want you to be set up for whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish in your career. So if there's any way that I can help you do that, that's my main goal. I want you to be a well-rounded young professional, not just, oh, I'm learning this engineering or I'm learning this accounting or whatever. I want you to learn that and give that experience, but I also want you to be a great person, a great leader. I want you to understand how to operate as a young professional in industry. And so it's been an honor to get to lead that program. So, I wanted to do it the right way of letting my leadership know, and then also just saying, okay, what's the plan? How do we go about doing it? So yeah, the end of August will be my time, and it's time to take that leap of faith. I've definitely had anxiety around it. I've definitely been like, are you sure? What about them benefits? What about that salary? Are you sure? So those who are watching, you're listening and watching to, a live moment, like this is actually something that I've put out there and been planning for. And, and with the awareness that it may not go the way I want it to go. Right. But it's like, just like recording the song, just do it. Just do it.
Man. Hey,
and see what happens.
Practicing what you preach.
Exactly. It's like, I can't share that advice and not do it. And of course, I've been wise about it. I didn't do it right when I started working at Spirit. It's taken me some time. So I'm not saying, quit your job today. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, use some wisdom. But I know for me, it's like, okay, I don't have a family. I don't have kids at this point. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, this is a great time to do it. Like, and if it doesn't go the way that you wanted it to go, you'll figure out how to do something else, or you'll figure out what that pivot is. And that life is very much about that. I feel like I'm talking so much because I get so passionate on my soapbox. So
It's wisdom.
Feel free to
It's wisdom,
chime
man.
in. I'm sorry.
It's what we asked you to cover. Man, it's really inspiring. And part of that like God journey that you've been on is really inspiring to me. And it seems easy. One would like look from the outside and be like, oh yeah, of course he can say that about God because he's a gospel singer, right? He does this for a living. But also you work in a professional workplace every day. So how is it you can also the struggles and being a gospel singer, doing glorifying God through your music, and also living that every day in workplace?
Yeah. First of all, I think I just have definitely in my life, the way life has gone in recent years, it has kind of reframed my walk with God and what I hope if anybody out there is interested in that journey and walking with God and walking with Jesus is like that personal relationship is everything because we're all human. So we're all going to, fail. We're all going to maybe not show up in the best way. We're all going to make mistakes. Like everybody's human. And so I think if you can get to the point where you say, of course, the Bible being a guide and but prayer being, access to God, but like having that personal relationship to me is like the most fundamental thing that you could do if that's something you're interested in, journey you're interested in going on, because I think you're gonna run into, people who could be hurtful, in that space or, that sort of thing. So I think that personal relationship is paramount. And then from that, I think flows how you show up in a workspace, in a place that may not be necessarily always geared towards that way of life. And so I think if you have that strong connection, then you're able to show up in those spaces. And I kind of think of like the fruit of the spirit, like things of, kindness and, honesty and all those different things, integrity and loving your neighbor as yourself, all of those things, like you get to express those things in those environments and not necessarily have to be preachy, or like you must align with me. No, this world is different. People have different views and different beliefs, but if you can, showcase your beliefs or what you believe in just by the way that you live and how your love flows out, I think people will definitely recognize that. And then if they're interested in wanting to take further steps in that direction, then you can have those conversations and open the door to that. I'm very sensitive when it comes to faith, Christianity, my walk with God and Jesus, just because I grew up in a place where the church was sometimes I call it like a cult church, which I know that sounds very crazy. It was definitely, in that space of things. And so we don't have time to get into all of it, but I just remember growing up and experiencing church in a way that could be, or Christianity in a way that could be very harmful and hurtful. And so I've always been a person of like, man, I know what God has done for me. I know what Jesus does for me. I know how the Holy Spirit holds this tongue when I be wanting to say crazy stuff. Okay. But I also don't ever want to force that on anybody. I want people to be able to experience that. And if they ask questions on like, how did this happen? Or I'm going to tell you it's God, I'm going to tell you it's Jesus. I'm going to tell you it's that relationship. And then if you're intrigued by that and you want to know more, I'm happy to share. But I think I'm still on a journey of continuing to grow in faith. And with every year that I'm getting older, it's like that continues to mold and form and shape as I grow. So I think it's just, once again, it goes all back to that personal relationship. And it's the sweetest thing for me. Like my parents are in Kansas City, Missouri. So I often drive through the Flint Hills to go to Raytown, specifically Raytown, Missouri. Shout out to Raytown. And the Flint Hills is my space to talk to God. I'm like, all right, God, we in the Flint Hills. Like, what we doing now? And so I just went to Kansas City. At the time that we're filming this, I just got back from singing the national anthem for the Kansas City Current. And so I was just in the Flint Hills, all right, what we talking about? What we doing? So, I wouldn't change that relationship for anything in the world. That's my bestie.
There you go. Yeah. No, that's very inspirational to hear, and definitely can be applied to a lot of people's like different situations. Mine too, as a coworker now.
Yeah, the coworker is crazy.
But-
Oh my god!
I had to say
I
that.
feel like you need to like expound on what that is.
You know, it was an amazing moment when I could message you in the company Teams for the first time.
That was really cool.
It's really just all about like me being a coworker with you now.
Yeah, so really brief, y'all. We were on this thing called Road Trip Nation together.
Yes.
So they were asking me to speak as someone who worked at Spirit, and Austin was a part of some students that got to come out to Spirit and tour a little bit, and also kind of like, because Road Trip Nation is all about showing young people careers and like different options and stuff like that in industry.
Yeah, I was very fortunate to be able to go and interview 10 different awesome leaders in the Wichita community. And yeah, we got to go to Spirit, meet Roy, talk more about inspiration. So this is like round 2
This
for me.
is round 2
This
for
is
both of us.
Really, yeah. So
is.
I was super excited when we got you on, and super excited when I got hired on. for
Yes,
Spirit.
no, I was happy too when I saw that. I was like, oh my gosh, like I saw your name come through, and I'm like,
Yeah.
he's from Road Trip Nation. They're like,
Yeah.
what? And I'm like, Road Trip Nation.
You guys don't know Road Trip
Yeah.
Nation?
I'm like,
Are you
this is-
serious? It's like a televised event.
Which, by the way, I feel like Road Trip Nation did its job, right? Like now you're working at
Honestly,
Spirit Aerospace.
that's very true.
Like that, it was all about exposing you to different areas in Wichita, because a big thing about it, was trying to keep students who are going to school in Kansas to stay in Kansas, right?
Yeah.
To work in Kansas, and so you're already on to step 1.
Go.
Shout
There
out to
we
Road Trip
go.
Nation.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I really do have a lot. I think this podcast too is very inspired by going on that trip, and also Devin, inspiring me to keep it going. And,
Come on,
yeah,
give
no.
them flowers.
Yeah, no, I'm giving flowers everywhere. It's
I
a
know,
bouquet
I
shop
know.
here, man. And no, yeah, so this is just, we'll move on to the
So
inspiring part of the
yeah,
podcast.
because we
with
gotta get to the
Mount
Mount
Rushmore.
Rushmore. Yes,
Oh Lord,
We got a segment
Oh,
that we gotta
Lord.
get
we
to.
have to
Okay.
get to it.
Roy, we want to know your personal inspirational Mount Rushmore. The 4 people or whatever it is in your life that has inspired you, and you got to think of it off the top of your head
Off
right
the
now.
top,
Off the dome,
Yes.
man.
Yeah, man, Mount Rushmore.
So you got a lot of different things in your life.
I know you have
I
so many
know.
choices. You gotta pick 4.
It's probably gonna, just because it's off the top of my head, it's probably gonna be people local
Sure.
to Wichita. I think I'll just because that's who's coming to my mind right away. So 2 of those slots, is 4 slots that are
4
on
slots,
there?
4 Mount Rushmore
Lord,
slots.
somebody gonna be mad. So forgive me out there if it's not you. I love you. I really do. I would say it's a married couple. So Dr. K. Monk Morgan
We'll count that as
and,
one.
and Derek Morgan. Oh, so you'll count that
We'll
as
count
one?
that
Okay.
as one.
I love them. So huge mentors in my life, and just amazing, special people who've been in my journey since I was a freshman in college till now. Man, you're really making me think of who else it would be. Mount Rushmore. Do these people need to know these people?
No,
So
this
it's
is
your
your
personal.
personal.
This will probably count as one. It's a group, but it'll probably the Tuskegee Airmen.
Okay.
Huge in
Yeah,
influential in aerospace, and just seeing Black men do excellent things in a time where they were fighting for this country, but they came back from World War II and weren't able to eat in the same place as white soldiers, and I mean the benefits, all the things that they lost out on, and then of course they were amazing in the air, shooting down German airplanes that were jet planes, and they're flying a P-51 Mustang, which has a propeller, so it's just amazing stuff. So love them. Who else? Probably Dr. King, probably Dr. King. Just, all of the things that he fought for in the way that he did it with his faith, in a peaceful way. And then that final slot, man, I'm trying to think, who would that be? Mount Rushmore. Ooh, I want to do somebody musical. And that would be,
Who inspires that R&B gospel?
ooh, this is really hard because now I want to split it up by genre. But I will say probably Stevie Wonder.
Stevie Wonder.
I
Great
mean, a legend in so many different ways in the music space, creating so many different sounds for so many artists. So he's definitely one of the ones, but honorable mention, Charlie Wilson,
Honorable mention.
we got some others up
There's
in
only
there.
4 spots on Mount
Yeah.
Rushmore.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'll leave it at that. Yeah. Gotta get some leaders in there, mentors from Wichita, and then somebody musical.
What do you say to people who say that Stevie Wonder wasn't actually blind.
Look, y'all, he be driving
What do you
cars,
say to
okay?
those
I've heard
people?
many stories about him driving cars, going through ATM lines and stuff like that. So
What do you say to those people?
I have no idea. Look, I'm not gonna get up in that drama. All right, that's not my tea to particularly spill. So I'm gonna let him live his life. And isn't he lovely? That's it. That's all I got to say.
Oh man, that was good. Appreciate that.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah, that's a great Mount Rushmore. I think we've had a lot of great Mount Rushmores here on season 2. So you added up to the third.
Well, hey, I'm
cliff
trying.
face.
That was right off the dome.
Yeah, no, it's tough.
That's what we love about it, though. It's
think
just,
it's good
it's
that
just
way.
fresh. You just go right off the top of the head. So,
Absolutely, man. Well, what else do we have here?
well, if we're getting kind of short on
We are,
time, so
unfortunately.
if people,
Unfortunately.
what would be like your last big think piece? What would you
Yeah.
want to say? Your last little big inspirational thing to help end this podcast?
Yes, it's something I said on Road Trip Nation, and it's something I say everywhere I go, whenever I speak. Do what you can with what you have right where you're at. Do what you can with what you have right where you're at. That's a quote from a president, I believe. It's said probably in a different way, but some lady said that to me in college. I wish I could remember who it was. I don't know, but I just remember those words, and it has been something that I followed my entire life since that moment. Because you'll find yourself in life having big dreams or goals, or even tough moments, maybe wanting to have a hard conversation or something like that. And you're just like, how do I do that? Like, how do I go about doing that? And if you take a step back and say, what can I do with what I have right where I'm at? You'll be surprised how far you can go. And I've just seen that happen over and over and over again in my life, from graduating Wichita State University with an aerospace engineering degree, but now wanting to sing. And like, how do I start singing? Like, I was known on campus, but now I'm like thrust into the world. Like, how do I, just ask a sports team if you can sing a national anthem for them. That's not at Wichita State. That's in the community. And you just, next thing you know, you just start growing, and it leads to something else. Oh, I'm interested in starting this STEMUSIC company. I don't have, write one song. What did I have? My voice, my songwriting ability. Where was I at? Wichita, Kansas. And I just did it right then. And the next thing you know, it has 46 million views on YouTube. So you always see these big moments from people that maybe you look up to or whatever. And you're like, man, I could never do that. Right. Mm-hmm. And I'm just a firm believer in like, you never know what you can do if you don't start, if you don't try. And so, but a lot of times when people say, well, I hear you telling me to try, how do I try? Just do what you can with what you have right where you're at. Whether that's going up and looking on Google, like what's the first step to opening a restaurant, or what's the first step to opening a hair salon? What's the first step to, having a difficult conversation with somebody? Oh, I have to be vulnerable. Oh, I have to try to think about where they're at in life. Oh, I have to have grace. Like all these things start coming out when you start searching for them. And so I think that's a huge thing that I've seen work wonders in my life. I'll close with this story that kind of shows the application of it. I love singing national anthems. I just mentioned singing one for the Kansas City Current. I always wanted to sing a national anthem on live television. The reason why I sing national anthems is because of Whitney Houston. Heard her national anthem when I was in high school. That started like, I want to do what she does. She moved me with that song. Like, how do I do that? And then also my dad's in the Army and, Tuskegee Airmen and other things. And so I was like, I want to sing on national television one day. That would be awesome. Does Roy know a producer for CBS, NBC? No, I don't know anybody. Like, what? Do I have any connection? No. Okay, what do I have? My voice and knowing how to sing the national anthem. Okay, start singing. Wichita State. Then from Wichita State, the Royals have Wichita State Day at the K. Oh, Roy, do you want to sing for this Royals game? Yes. Oh my gosh, sing for the Royals. Then I'm singing for the Chiefs. Then I'm singing for the Oklahoma City Thunder when they came to play in Wichita for the exhibit games that they used to do back in the day. Then it's like, okay, now I'm singing for this other, team. And then next thing you know, randomly, I'm just living life and I get a call and someone says, hey, we got your video from the Chiefs or from the Royals or something. We have the men's USA soccer team coming to Kansas City and they're going to play in the Sporting Kansas City Stadium. And we got your name for the national anthem. Would you be up for that? And I'm like, yes. I don't know if you follow Marvel, but like the Infinity Stones, what's the guy's name who has the Infinity Stones? Thanos. I kind of treat the national anthem like that with different sports. So I'm like, I'm collecting football, I'm collecting
So what do we need?
basketball. I've gotten soccer now.
need
and
hockey.
Women's soccer. I need hockey. I've
need
done
hockey.
minor league hockey, but I would love to do
Okay.
NHL. So
Okay, we need to make
All right,
this.
Thanos,
Okay.
get to
right.
it.
So
Yes.
I'm like, oh, awesome, soccer. That'll be a new, stone.
Yeah.
And so then
I wish we had a
cool.
graphic right now.
Right.
We could
Oh my
put you up
gosh.
there with the-
And so I'm like, cool. And so he's like, yep, here's the information. Da, da, da. Okay, cool. I'm ready. I'm excited. And like 2 days before I'm getting ready to drive up to Kansas City, he calls. He's like, I just want to confirm everything. I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, by the way, you're going to be singing on live television on Fox in front of millions of people. So we just want to make sure you're okay with that. And I'm like, what? Like, oh my gosh, something that I wasn't, because I've done so many anthems, like that's never a part of it. And so I just couldn't believe it. And sure enough, got there, standing there, that red light came on and I'm on national television. Family got to see me all across the country. It was crazy, but that all started from singing national anthems at Wichita State University for the Shockers. So I just want people to understand, like, you really can do what it is that you're pursuing, what you believe in, what you dream of, by just doing what you can with what you have right where you're at.
right where you're at. Man, thank you so much for that.
So good. Oh,
Thank you so much, dude. It's been a blessing to have you on. I can't wait if we have you on again. It feels too short.
before we get off, make sure if people want to reach out to you,
Yeah.
how can they reach you? What's your social media contacts? Because I know you had an amazing banner. It just would
Did not
not
make it
work.
up.
It was too high, too big. My big head covering all kinds of stuff, No, I appreciate that. So for anything STEM music, you can go to our website at www.thestemusic.com. That's THESTEMUSIC.com. And then on all social media for STEM music, it's at the STEM Music. So THESTEMUSIC. And then on the personal side of things, at ROY T3, Roy T3. My name is Roy Nelson Moye III. So that's what the T3 is all about. So you can follow things on there. I do think I'm resurrecting an R&B career too. So I'm a little excited about that. So keep that in mind down the road. That might be coming back this fall. And it's just been exciting to be in this musical space. And I'm excited to get to pursue it full time for the first time ever.
Gosh, me too. Me too. I feel like we might have to get you back on.
Hey, let me know. I'd love to come and chat.
I'm just putting it in existence.
I'd love to come back and chat anytime.
Thank you so much, man. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Turtleneck Table Talk. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, that like button, and leave comments down below about how inspired you were with this conversation. Thank you.